Ever since I was little, being Mexican was a complicated part of my life. I've never looked particularly Mexican. My mom's Irish side took care of that, but I was too Mexican to be white. I mean, I look like my cousins, and they look Mexican, so it's frustrating when I feel caught in between the two. If only I had $1 for every time someone only believed I was Mexican just because I said my last name was Garcia. At least then I'd be rich and annoyed, instead of just annoyed. But even though I don't look very Mexican, I like to think that my family and I make up for it when it comes to being culturally Mexican, at least when it comes to the most important aspect of Mexican culture, the food. Sure, my great-grandfather's favorite food was McDonald's pancakes, but for the most part my family takes Mexican food very seriously. But then again, even non-Hispanic people I've met take Mexican food seriously. In my experience, everyone believes that their favorite type of Mexican food is real Mexican food. But what does real Mexican food even mean? When I moved from my home in California to Sarah Lawrence, I was suddenly faced with a problem I had never had before. There seemed to be no good Mexican food. The closest thing I could find was a Chipotle, which doesn't really count. But by the time I went home in October, I was craving a burrito so badly that I begged my mom to bring one to the airport. She refused. Apparently, driving half an hour out of the way is too far to go for a burrito. When I returned to school after winter break, I realized that I had to find some solution to my situation. So I decided to take matters in my own hands. I recruited 3 of my friends, all from different parts of the United States, to come with me to different Mexican restaurants. Part of the quest would be completely self-serving and would help me find good Mexican food, but the other part would be more complicated. I wanted to look into what makes people decide what they think real Mexican food is.
Well, I'm Latina, so I guess I like Mexican food. You know, it's very similar to Puerto Rican food, and it's just so rich in flavor. There's so much culture behind it, and when it comes to Mexican food, like, you could go to a restaurant and have a very fancy dinner, or you could get a taco from a food truck on the street, or like it could be your abuela cooking in the kitchen, or your dad reminiscing like over Spanish rice, and like there's all sorts of like memories to it that I just don't get from eating a burger, but that's me.
I like Mexican food for a lot of reasons. It's cheap, it's easy, it's usually self-contained, and it just tastes really good. There are a lot of different components. Like, it depends on what Mexican place you're going to. Just ingredient by ingredient, it's just stuff that I enjoy. I mean, I wouldn't eat sour cream by itself, but it's just, and just like the atmosphere in Mexican restaurants I really enjoy, and like just the easiness of it. You can just get food that is like, it's not crazy healthy, but it's not like fast food. It's like better than that, and you can just like get it at a food truck, or you can like go out and like get Mexican food with your friends at like a restaurant, and it's like really nice, and it's all just like Mexican food, and it's all great.
I guess I'm from Texas, so Mexican food is extremely prevalent there. I'm part Mexican, so when I'm with my Mexican family, I eat Mexican food all the time. I guess I've kind of just grown up around it. My dad used to throw fajita parties like all the time.
Our first stop was Taqueria Diana, which is a few blocks away from Port Authority in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of Manhattan. The restaurant is part of a 2-restaurant chain and is owned by Matt LaRue. Coincidentally, Matt is from my hometown, Stockton, so needless to say, I was pretty excited to see what it was like.
The reason I opened a Mexican restaurant is more based around New York City, and originally I really wanted to open a Mexican restaurant out of the country, and our whole goal is to bring Mexican food to cities where it's really underrepresented, including New York City. The thing I like most about Mexican food is it lends itself to always being very fresh. And it's something that's meant to be eaten, very soon after it's been made. There's so many definitions and interpretations of Mexican food. So to say that one is real over another, I think is really hard to say unless we're referring to, Mexican food that's only eaten in Mexico.
So why did you order what you ordered?
Like a base coat, and then there were stickers and flags.
It's really good, and I get this ones often. Sometimes I like to try new things, so I'll just look at the menu and be like, oh, that looks interesting, I should try that. And I tried Go Cactus once, that was fun. But today was meat day.
really like meat and carnitas especially. I love burritos, any burrito. I ate a lot of burritos when I was in high school, like after like crew practice and stuff. It's like really great, and I've always enjoyed it.
I have eaten tacos al pastor a lot back in Texas. I've never tried one in New York, but I assume it'll be delicious because it looks really good. There's quite a bit of queso fresco on the taco this year.
Yo voy a cantar esta canción para mi gente, con una pasión tan fuerte.
And how would you each rate the food you had? 1 to 5.
That's like so hard. I think like, I mean, we went to a couple other taco places, and for like being here for the first time, I think this was a good experience. And I think it was definitely above an 8. Like a scale of 10. Is that a 5? Oh. What would that be, like a conversion of like a 3.5 or something?
Like
a 4?
it's half.
It's half. Alright.
But that's okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Doesn't make sense. Okay.
It's like just up there, like that's...
I would probably give it, and I feel like I have to like, I was really hungry and I haven't had Mexican food in a really long time. So like, there are those factors, like, but like, yeah, like a 4. Like a 4 to a 4.5, like a 4.25.
He's really happy with his burrito.
I'm really happy with it. So yeah, like an 8.5. 8.5 to 9. Yeah, out of 10. I'm sorry. No more conversion.
Well, I on the other hand had Mexican food very recently. I just came back from Texas from spring break, and the last meal I had was Mexican food. But like, I'm still very satisfied with this taco. I would give it, I mean, it's not the best thing I've ever had, but it's not like, but it was really good. I'd say like 4 out of 5.
Where I'm from has a really significant impact on what I think of Mexican food, because I'm sure that in other places, what I consider Mexican food would probably be just considered like American style Mexican food or California style Mexican food, but to me is like the best Mexican food, definitely. I just think, for me, I mean, everyone is like entitled to their own opinion, but you know, there's a lot of different, you know, places to get Mexican food, a lot of Mexican food trucks. So there's a ton of competition, which really drives up like the quality without like driving up, with like, while keeping like the prices like pretty low, because it's so common. And it's just really, you know, I'm kind of a snob about it coming out here to the Northeast, truth be told. I've been to some really good Mexican food places here, but there's just a lot less Mexican food places out here. And it kind of bums me out sometimes. Like, I wish I could just like go to Bronxville and get a burrito, but that's like not gonna happen. So it's like, it can be like a bummer, but like, you know, I always get to go back home, and definitely like just like something about just like eating a burrito in like downtown Oakland, or like going to a few places in Berkeley that I love. It's just like a really great feeling.
I think where I'm from does not influence how I feel about Mexican food in the slightest. It's a very white place. But I do think that because I'm Puerto Rican, I probably think about the quality of Mexican food a little bit differently. I'm not, like, I do enjoy Tex-Mex and like California Mex and like all the different gentrified versions of Mexican food, but it's not Mexican food. And having like been in a situation where I've had it cooked for me by someone who's had it cooked for them and been taught how to cook it is so different than, you know, going to Moe's or Chipotle and being like, I'm gonna get a burrito.
I think where I'm from and my background definitely influences how I feel about Mexican food, because my family loves Mexican food. In fact, my family kind of doesn't love Tex-Mex food. They're like, oh, Tex-Mex food is fake Mexican, even though we live in Austin, Texas. So pretty much like half or more of the food there is gonna be like Tex-Mex food and not like real Mexican food. Or maybe even more than that, I don't know. But Anyways, yeah, I go with my friends all the time out to eat like Tex-Mex food, and during like school and everything, whenever there would be like an event, we would have like Tex-Mex food. And so I guess like even if my parents don't want me to have like Tex-Mex food instead of Mexican food, I've eaten a lot of Tex-Mex food and I love it. So like things like enchiladas and burritos and like stuff like that, even if they're not made exactly how they're made in Mexico, I still like them. Also, like whatever my family has made for me, that's like Mexican food. And especially some of my family being from like right on the border of Texas and Mexico, I guess a lot of the Mexican food there is that specific cuisine. It's going to be northern Mexican food.
Our second stop was El Centro, which is located in Hell's Kitchen like Taqueria Diana, but on the complete other side of the neighborhood. It's owned by John Dempsey, who owns several restaurants in the area, including another Mexican restaurant.
So what did you order? I ordered nachos with chorizo, and it's got a lot of stuff on it, and there's guac. I'm very excited about the guac.
I got chilaquiles with steak, and I'm really excited to eat it. It looks delicious.
Got a carnitas burrito. I'm really excited about it.
Y sigo gozando.
How would you rate the food in the restaurant from 1 to 5?
1 to 5. Here, probably 4. Probably 4. It was really good. It tasted really good.
This was like delicious. The steak was perfectly cooked. It was so good. I couldn't finish it because there's so much. It's like the 4.8, maybe 4.8.
I would also put a 4. Maybe a 4.5.
What I think real Mexican food is, I think that's a complicated question, because I think like, if you're like doing it like really like hardcore, then it's just what people eat in Mexico traditionally. Like that's the only real Mexican food. But like, for me personally, like, I guess where I draw the line is like Taco Bell is not real Mexican food. Chipotle is not real Mexican food. That's where I stand. Like, you can have like a chain, but like a nationwide chain, it just gets too different. Like Chipotle doesn't even have like Spanish rice. Like, nah, I don't. That's where I like. If you were just like, is that Mexican food? I'd be like, yeah, I guess. But if you were like, is that real Mexican food? I'd be like, no.
I don't think there's like one specific like you can't just name like 5 dishes and say like that's real Mexican food, because Mexico has like so many different cuisines, and like every different region of Mexico there's going to be a different cuisine. So everyone from a different region of Mexico is probably going to have a different idea of like what their specific Mexican food is, and then in the United States it's like taken off even further.
I think real Mexican food is made from the heart, and it doesn't taste like capitalism. It's the kind of food that like you could have at home on a rainy Sunday, and it's made fresh.
As much as I had hoped to get a definite answer to what real Mexican food really was, it didn't seem like one could be found. Either people had their own specific definition of what real Mexican food was, or they would refuse to answer the question altogether. Like many things, it seems like real Mexican food is in the eye of the beholder. On the bright side, we did find some damn good food.